Did you say they want to cut down the forest?
Yeah. That's the latest that we heard. The governor, the new governor in Cross River State. It's money now, money, contract. You know, something that we fought against for almost 15 years with the Nigerian Conservation Foundation. People like Uzoma Philip Asiodu, Francesca Emmanuel, they were up there advocating for it. Eventually, they protected the forest. They were able to earn $4 million carbon credit to protect the forest. Now the new incumbent is in there. But don't worry. We're going to bring the tenets of righteousness and justice right into his cabinet. We're going to tell him that you've got to follow these basic principles or you have no right to be there as a leader. But back to the carbon credit and back to protecting the mangroves. I love what Brother Henry was saying there because it's so important. These mangroves are wonderful resources. Wonderful resources. They absorb the carbon dioxide that is shaking the whole world up now. The whole world, including now Pope Francis, are saying, hey, we got to get a hold on this climate change. We got to protect Sister Mother Earth, otherwise we're in trouble. Our mangroves do a pretty good job of that. Not as good as the pristine rainforest, but they do a pretty good job. But guess what else they do? As he said, nature or God Almighty gave it to us as a blessing. It is the best fishing resource in terms of that's where the fish breed. All the crustaceans, all the small fishes that you catch offshore, they all go into the mangroves to breed. And the people there had such a good life. You know, whenever you see Ijaw people or people from Ogoni land, they're always, you know, because guess what? They've been feeding well right from square one. I have somebody who's been an associate for a long time. Trevor Daniels. Trevor would go to school. On the way to school, he just throw his net. He's still paddling. He'd throw his net, he'd pick a fish, boom, they're going to fry that for lunch.
On his way to school.
On his way to school. By the time they come back, the net will stay a little bit longer, and that's a whole bunch of fish for dinner. And then walking back to the village, you're just picking up cassava. You're picking up this, boom, you know, no problem with food in that area. Wonderful lifestyle. Now Trevor dare not even put his hand inside that water. And it makes you wonder because, you know, just very recently, just a few days ago, the representatives of the people of Nigeria in the House of Legislature, they were asked, would they take maybe just a 10% salary cut? 30%. Just a little 10% cut. 30%. 30, okay, that's a little cut. They rejected it. They rejected it fully. That's even after the president. And I must say, the president is really doing some moves, making some cool moves that we like. You know, they're going for 50% reduction. Beautiful. They were rejecting it. And these same people, they've been around for quite a while, when all this stuff was going on, when all the pollution of the Lemme was happening, when people were being poisoned, when people were being pushed out of being able to earn a decent livelihood, representing the people, earning massive amounts of money, more than even Barack Obama of the United States. And don't they realize that I think it's about 85 or 90% of the money they're earning, the revenue comes from that very same Niger Delta area? And they couldn't represent the people of Niger Delta enough to stop this nonsense from going on. It just belies the question, where is the righteousness? Where is the justice? But what we can tell them is that the judgment of God is not running away. Oh yes, you can't continue doing this kind of thing. So please, let's really try to restore the mangroves as best we can. Some of them they've been damaged beyond any repair at all. That type of oil despolation, you can't recover. You know, a dead body, unless, you know, Jesus Christ himself comes and does his thing, ain't going to revive again.
Henry, you talked about the role of the oil companies in that area, and the activities, the exploration activities, but you also mentioned the individuals. Now, even though the president has given the go-ahead for the committee to begin its work, what role would the individuals in that region play in helping to sort out clean up the Ogoni environment?
The biggest issue right now is about crude oil theft and artisanal refinery. Artisanal refinery contributes about 20% of the damage to the environment in the Ogoni land based on the report. It's still going on. I think over the past years, artisanal refinery has increased in numbers because of the issues of supply of crude oil and petroleum products. So the people themselves must find a way of stopping the levels of artisanal refining going right now. They have to sort of find a way of increasing the knowledge about the damage it does to the environment. I mean, it's a mixed bag because when people don't feel governance, they tend to take laws into their own hands and do things that benefit them. So I think while we're trying to do the cleanup, we also have to find a way of getting the community to understand damages these things do to the people that live there and how it affects their whole life as usual. I don't want us to miss the issue about the agencies in place because one of the fundamental problems is the issue of NOSRA and DPR. I know the current Senate president, when he was chairman of the Environment in the past Senate, tried to do an amendment to the NOSRA bill. I think something we should bring up back again because, again, NOSRA as right now, as it is ineffective to do anything. It's underfunded, it's understaffed, and it doesn't have the capabilities to deliver any kind of response to oil spills, which is the real issue about institutional processes. Again, DPR has some areas where there's cross-cutting regulation, which creates a lot of issues in terms of mitigation of oil spills. So I think what these 2 years before the cleanup starts should do is set up the framework that can do it properly, relate the agencies to do it in a way where it doesn't happen, raise the awareness, as Brother Desmond said, increase the knowledge of people in the Delta as a whole about the effects of their own actions on the community. And maybe we should have some time where we talk about the pipelines as well, because a lot of pipelines in the Delta are old, are rusty, and oil spill happens everywhere all the time. And because we are not a very rich country, we don't have the kind of resources to respond adequately on time. So those things are issues we should talk about in this time before the cleanup occurs.
Okay, Mr. Adigo, Amnesty International says that as long as the oil company or companies operating in that area continue to drill the way they're drilling, that all this is going to come to naught. I mean, how true is that?
Mm-hmm. I do not think I'm not a spokesperson for the IOCs, and I don't have enough knowledge about how they drill. But I don't think it's the way they drill. I think there are issues across board. The pipelines were laid at a time when we didn't have this kind of issues we have in the Delta. They weren't very deep. They were laid with understanding the communities will be part of the protection mechanisms. According to the Navy website, we have had over 1,700 tapping points on pipelines. These are willful damages by communities or by organized groups. That contributes a lot to it. Secondly, the aspects of maintenance. I mean, one of the issues that's been contentious is about the amount of money NNPC claims it spends on repairing pipelines. I mean, they said it spent $11.8 billion or thereabouts in pipeline maintenance in the past 4 years. And again, you still see the effect of this on the environment. So I think beyond drilling, there are issues about regulatory framework, as I keep on repeating. We need to get that right. We need to get the penalty regime right. We need to get the issues of fines when companies do what they ought not to do. And then again, the response time to clean up is also a big issue. NOSRA needs to use shells or mobiles facilities to get to a cleanup area. How effective can you be? How effective can you be when you work with an agency to regulate an institution, then you need their facilities to help you do your job? So I think Amnesty has maybe some information I might not have, but I'm not sure it's drilling. I think it's beyond that. I think it's beyond the issue of how oil is drilled. The technologies are the same world over. I don't think ours is special. There are things will happen. There will be accidents. Accidents happen. How we respond to accidents are majorly the issue.
But we also hear that because our regulatory framework is not as tight as it should be, these people are cutting corners here and doing things that they wouldn't normally do in other environments.
Exactly.
Well, the laws the laws are outdated and old. The laws are as old as 69, 73, 74 in some cases. The penalties are very low. They're not the people rather pay penalties and do the right thing. It's all about that issue that needs to be addressed. I think there's work going on towards that direction. I think, I hope and presume because we have a Senate President who was passionate about the environment, he will think about amending those laws. I think with the happenings in the NNPC and with the new MD, the things it's doing, I think we'll have an NNPC which is more of a commercial NNPC that leaves the business of drilling or regulation to a DPR that's properly effective. So it's a lot of work needed to be done. And then again, I think about the community themselves as well. Too many people are benefiting from the issues right now. Too many people have hidden and open benefits from all skills management. We need to take those incentives away from the communities. We need to take away the issues of how people benefit from things that affect a larger population. The people that benefit don't live in the communities. They get the money from the communities and live in Lagos or Abuja or in Port. But the people that live there don't get the benefits, but they don't understand it well enough to see how this impacts their own life. So there's a lot of work to be done. It's not one thing. It's a lot of things that needs to be done to make this a credible exercise with good outcomes.
Finally, Mr. Adigun, how do we get all stakeholders to appreciate that even after this cleanup is done, everybody has to do X, Y, Z to ensure that this degradation does not continue and we don't continue to lose lives?
You've said the point exactly. I think we need to have learning lessons from this exercise. Ogoni is just one area. Ogoni is about 1,000 square kilometers. We have oil spills in virtually every part of the Niger Delta. What we should do is take the lessons from this exercise and harmonize them, and then use them to develop new ways and new mechanisms of doing things properly. Where we need to talk about issues around changing the laws, let's change the laws. Where we need to fund properly agencies that should do the work, let's do that properly. Where we need to educate the communities, let's do that properly as well. And where we need to sort of stop drilling, because the issue has always been, can we lose the revenue from these areas in a country where we have revenue shortfalls? Yes, we might need to think about that as well. So it's about putting a thinking mechanism in government actions that doesn't lose the lessons we gain from a very terrible occurrence.
So, thank you, Mr. Adigun. In closing, Mr. Majakodumi.
Yeah, well, just very briefly, he's said it all, and everything that he's saying, and everything that had been said here in the previous discussions, it all boils down to ensuring that your leadership have those basic principles. You just got to have righteous people, people who at least are seeking something far more higher than just personal gain to move a nation forward. All the nations we admire, they're built on these basic tenets of righteousness and justice. And it's just very good that, you know, the whole change process is here. And as we've said before, change is there. We bring people to bring in good change. If they don't bring in the good change, we change them and bring in better people. But we're very confident that we're on the right track now. Good governance, you know, those guys in the House of Assembly, they should at least justify their fat salaries and do something about this. You know?
Thank you very much. We have been chatting with Mr. Desmond Majakodumi, an environmentalist, as well as Mr. Henry Adigun, who spoke to us from our studios in Abuja, also an environmentalist. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming to share your insights with us this morning. Sunrise will return in just a moment. Please stay with us.